Hey everybody, welcome back to Mrs. RATTLECAN'S house. I am James and this is the week in review. Wow, number 11. We continued to move the remainder of the dirt that we put into the basement up over the wall into the crawl space and by buckets around to the other excavation. And then we eventually finished that. I disassembled the steel case desk and file furniture. I also disassembled the countertop in the Knotty Pine pub so that we can gain access to the sump pit in order to get that sealed off when it's time to do the radon abatement system. We also discovered that we have this pipe. At one time it was a drain for the sink on the Knotty Pine pub countertop. I don't think we're allowed to have one of those, so we're in the process of attempting to loosen that pipe and get that sealed off. It drains straight into the pump, or into the sump. The sump is, well, the sump pump is working, but the water's not going anywhere. There is a check valve in that piece of galvanized line. I even hate to do it, but I'm gonna have to open that valve up and see if it is functional or not. I then pulled out the crawl space grate in the front of the house. I modified the ramp that we used in the window in the back of the house to work on that small area. Then we had a visit from the asbestos abatement company who gave us the okay to occupy the residence. Our air samples had come back with no detectable asbestos in it, so we're good to go. And then I briefly spent a little bit of time chopping, cutting some English ivy runners that are starting to climb up our pine trees. Mrs. RATTLECAN loves the look of English ivy. I, on the other hand, understand that it is pretty much the destroyer of worlds. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to resolve itself, but in a month or so I'll start peeling that English ivy off of there, and hopefully we won't damage the bark on those big pine trees too much. I tested the floor drain in the zombie pantry to see if by any chance it drained into the sump pit, and it does not. More than likely it drains to an old French drain that goes around the perimeter of the house. Since that is the case, we're not going to use that to be the discharge avenue for our water softener when it recycles. So we're going to have to figure that out. I spent quite a bit of time with my HVAC guy, who happens to be my oldest son, and a friend of his, and we looked around at our HVAC system. We measured ducts, we did a whole bunch of stuff, and we did a little detective work too. We discovered that the air handler unit in the attic was actually built in 1967, so I'm pretty sure that we have all gotten our money's worth out of that. So the decision's been made that we're just going to replace it. We were just going to reduct it, but just looking at it and on the advice of a couple of HVAC guys who don't really have any vested interest in this, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to replace it with a new unit with a heat pump, so that when it just gets a little nippy, then we can operate on the heat pump, and then, you know, when we get the full on Arctic cold coming down, then we'll fire up the boiler. I started pulling the hard wires out from the old alarm system. I started going in and using spray foam to seal up all these little holes that are leading from the main floor up into the attic, so that we're trying to minimize any kind of air movement between that conditioned and that unconditioned space. as we can. I bought 4 sheets of OSB and I cut them in half and made crawling boards out of them, since all of the contaminated decking material has been removed from the attic. I've been finding this lone black ant every once in a while. I'll find one. I never find any more than one. I always find just one. So we got the insecticide and we sprayed the perimeter of the house again. I've got a tree that's looking kind of suspicious out front, like it might have some sort of an infestation in it, so we sprayed that as well. And then we're gonna, before we put all the insulation down, we're gonna give all the openings to the outside, we're gonna give those a good shot as well. Also, the second shipment of fill dirt arrived, and well, that just means we're moving more dirt. You shovel it into the wheelbarrow, you move it, 18 feet, you dump it through the little window, and eventually it makes a big pile on the inside, and you have to go on the inside and shovel it out so that you can try to shovel the rest of it back in. I don't think we're going to have to use all of the dirt that I got. I got an additional 6 yards, and this dirt is different than the first fill dirt that I got. The first fill dirt I got had a lot of sand in it, and it's tended to compress down quite a bit. This stuff doesn't. It seems to have got more clay in it, which doesn't make me real excited, but you work with what you got. Apparently there's an antelope upstairs. And so that's what we did this week. We're kind of plotting how we're going to attack the attic now that we've really kind of gotten the okay. We're waiting on the numbers to come back from the HVAC guys on what kind of models we're going to get. Are we going to get the economy model, or are we going to get the the grand poobah model? I imagine it's somewhere middle of the road there. So that's what's going on this week. If you would give us a thumbs up on the video, be sure to write a comment down below the sermon notes. We love to hear from you guys, and be sure to subscribe. Be sure to follow us on Facebook. I post to Facebook more than I post to anything, just because it's always in my hip pocket. So that's all I got for this week. You guys have a great weekend. Cheers.
If you enjoyed watching this episode of Mrs. RATTLECAN'S house, consider checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and to get the latest updates on our progress, like us on Facebook. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.
Perhaps we should have some wine.